Here's what I'm going to mention about that kill team box, right?
Yeah.
So we know in context that they're Romanians, right? And if you were to compare them to a historical, group, because many Space Marine
Yeah.
chapters they are, Vlad the Impaler Romanians.
Yeah.
So that one model in which it's a corpse, acting as a banner because it's a corpse on a stick. Technically speaking, that's a Turk on a stick or a Turkish kebab.
Oh. I'd actually never considered like Vlad the Impaler, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a friend who made that joke once. I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's so true. Now he just needs to wear the fizz and all.
Yeah. One mark will be vehicle 6, comprised of warrior women.
Hi friends, I'm LJ Jarvis, and welcome back to Will's Jarvis Show.
Before we begin, let us thank you for clicking onto this video. If you'd like to see more videos like these, consider subscribing and hitting the bell button so you'll never miss an episode. Now, on with the show.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to On Air with Jarvis, the podcast of all things Warhammer and general stuff I find of interest. Joining us today from IKEA country, Paladius. How's it going, sir?
Hello. It's going fine. I am Paladius, as mentioned. Percy or Percival also work.
Yeah, and as the intro would suggest, you're from Sweden, if I'm right.
Yes, from Sweden. Born and raised and proud to be built at IKEA.
Here's something I'm interested in. How big is IKEA in a country like Sweden? I'm curious on that.
It is. Oh, how to describe it? It is it's basically this thing where that's where when I grew up, we always went to IKEA for furniture, or if we needed like pillows or bed sheets or stuff, or maybe not bed sheets, but it was always to IKEA for anything mostly household related. There are a few things, like there are better lamp stores maybe, but otherwise it was always IKEA. So in my experience, it is a pretty core thing in a sense. When it comes to growing up in Sweden.
Yeah, I don't think I went to an IKEA that often. I think maybe a few times, but there's one nearby where I live.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think for like, kitchen decorations or, for stuff like even plumbing, I think we went to more like Home Depot than IKEA.
Yeah. We don't have Home Depot here. We have similar things, but generally, IKEA is cheaper than those.
Mm-hmm.
I think also IKEA really engraved itself into my mind, because when I was a kid, I had this bed, and I remember the bed because all the things at IKEA have names, like Björk and stuff. And that bed had the same name as me, and for some reason I just found that so cool. So that always cemented, like, for me as, IKEA is cool because they had a bed that has the same name as me.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. And, something about myself actually too. So funny thing is that I have like a great grandmother that was from Sweden, right?
Oh, really?
And yeah, the reason why that's important is because one time on my birthday, I did some axe throwing, right? And on my first try, and I never did axe throwing before, I got bullseye, dead center on the mark. So it's probably some like Swedish Viking ancestor helping me that day, Bjorn.
I've never done axe throwing, but I've made an axe.
Oh, that's awesome.
I didn't make it from scratch. I adjusted it from a already started project. Because when my first job, I found this axe head that was like half finished, dusty and rusty as all hell, just sat behind one of the machines at work. And I found it, and I asked my boss and was like, "Hey, can I like finish this?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." So I finished that, and it was hanging on my wall. I've moved it somewhere. I forget where, but it is somewhere here.
We gotta invade Brennan. Take us some monkus femboys.
Yeah. I wanted to mention as well regarding IKEA. I think the most Swedish experience I've ever had was related to IKEA.
Oh, yeah?
We were going up to Stockholm via car. We
Mm.
were doing a road trip there. Stockholm is the capital of Sweden. And we were just all cramped into this car, and my dad said, we're going to stop for lunch. And as I wasn't a kid, but like as a teenager, during any road trip, we were like, oh, cool, McDonald's. There's one right there. And Dad turns the opposite way, and we're like, that's not McDonald's. Where are we headed? We headed to IKEA for lunch.
Oh,
But don't get me wrong.
no, son, we can't go to McDonald's, y'all.
Yeah,
no American
but
food, y'all.
It was great lunch. It was great lunch. They had like smoked salmon. They had pancakes.
Yeah,
bacon,
it's like
they had.
I heard they have little
everything.
restaurants there. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
it's almost like Costco. Like whenever we go to Costco when I was a kid, I would always look forward to that because we go to the food court afterwards. And
yeah.
if you know what
No,
Costco is, it's
I have a vague idea. I've never been to the U.S. and I've never seen a Costco, but I have a vague idea of what it is.
they have here in Canada too. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a good experience.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, and despite my horrible Swedish voice impression, it sounds more German.
No, it was pretty good. I think. I like to think that I don't talk with a particularly Swedish accent, but it's become more Swedish than it used to be of late. But I can talk with a more Swedish accent if I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I try not to. I don't really know why. I just prefer a more blank slate English if I can.
Yeah, there's kind of like this idea too in Canadian accents. It's like sometimes people think that everyone speaks like as if they're from Newfoundland, right?
Ah,
so
yeah.
it'll be like, oh yeah, hey, I'm from Newfoundland, yeah.
Yeah, all the A's and the oots and
The aboot.
Yeah. I mentioned it on Twitter/X yesterday. I think
I refuse to call it act. I will not call it that. That's stupid.
Yeah, fair. Twitter. Yeah, I mentioned that I've been rewatching How I Met Your Mother, and they make those jokes all the time about Robin there.
Oh, I don't get it. Sorry.
Oh, well, there's this one character who's from Canada, but they're in New York, so they always make fun of her while doing like stereotypical Canadian accents and stuff.
Oh yeah. Again, I never watched that show, so
that's fair. It's pretty dated it in my opinion it holds up, but it's pretty old by now.
Oh yeah, of course. It came out in what, the 80s or something?
Let me
2000s.
Real quick, look it up. It's 2005.
Oh, okay.
So a bit more recent than that, but still, that's almost 20 years ago.
Oh, I was 7 years old at that time.
I was 7 as well. Yeah.
Oh wow. But
yeah, 98. Yeah.
But like I do with every guest on the show, and this is probably the most obvious question I almost ask of anybody, right? So Warhammer, right? I'm actually curious as to like your first exposure to Warhammer, right? And what was that vodka shot that made something like Warhammer stand out to you when compared to all the other settings? I'm curious on that.
So I actually have two introductions to Warhammer in a sense. When I was in 6th or 7th grade, I had a classmate who was like my best friend at the time, still a good friend, but he did Warhammer at the time, and he was like, do you want to come with me to the store afterwards? And I was like, sure, I'm not doing anything after school, I may as well. So I came along with him to the, I think it was called Games Workshop still at the time, the like actual stores rather than Warhammer. And
yeah, that's right.
We painted some there. I remember I painted Eldari. Have you played StarCraft?
No, unfortunately, I don't play StarCraft.
Okay, well, for those listening that do know it, there's this character type called Nova and also Ghost, and they have this like white bodysuit with blue lights going along them, and I wanted to paint my Eldari like that, with like white and blue strips. I couldn't do. I was like, what, 13, 14 at the time.
Oh, and painting white armor for a first time. It's like, oh, buddy.
That and trying to get the like thin light blue light lines in a sense. It was an ambitious attempt, but I unfortunately have no idea where those are. I didn't continue with the hobby after that. I painted those, and that was like it. I know said friend dropped the hobby for reasons I don't know, so I imagine he didn't go back, and that's just, it never really happened again. Then when the pandemic hit, I got laid off because I was at a small firm and we didn't get any jobs. And so I was stuck at home, and I really, like, I have this desire to be creative in a sense, and I worked with machinery to like make stuff, but that is an expression of creativity the way I see it, but a bit big for an apartment. So I needed something a bit smaller and more possible to do at home. And like just a few days after I got laid off, I think, I encountered the Astartes miniseries.
Okay, yeah.
And I watched that and I was like, oh, this is cool. And at first I was just going to get into the lore. I was thinking and said to myself, ooh, I've read a bit. It seems like you can make your own Space Marines. I want to try to like just make my own Space Marines as lore and have in my head.
Yeah.
And then just like the next day, I looked at I Googled the store and everything, and I was like, I could pick up one pack of Space Marines.
It never stops at one.
No. I spent like my entire like equivalent of a severance check, I think, on minis.
Oh man.
Yeah. So the first 2-3 months I spent a lot. It slowed down a bit after that to become more reasonable monthly spending. I think I bought like the Indomitus box 2 or 3 times on eBay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was. I went in hard when I got started, but yeah, that's how I got into the hobby.
Yeah, the Indominus box was pretty cool. I never picked it up though, but at that time I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Especially like the
Blade Guard veterans and the Blade Guard Ancient, the guy with the like whole covering robes.
Oh yeah, that one.
Yeah. Those were, I think, my favorite in the box.
And you and I were actually talking about this, right? And you said something about how you yourself have your own, Blood Angel successors. So I'm interested in that.
Yes. I have several homebrews, but my main one is my Templars of Sanguinius.
Oh, that sounds good. That sounds good.
Basically, when I got into Warhammer, the 2 chapters that I was drawn to was Blood Angels and Black Templars. And
that's a perfect mix.
Yeah, and I couldn't decide which one do I want to make my guys a successor of. But I figured I can make them a successor to one and have a lot of vibes of the other.
Oh, that's right.
I decided to make them Blood Angel successors because I feel like being a Blood Angel successor rather than an Imperial Fist successor sort of shows more. With them being like often pale, they have the red thirst and stuff. It's more of a distinct succession. But they have a lot of that Black Templar vibes, or at least initially I went with a lot of Black Templar vibes. I think they've developed to be sort of Blood Angels, Black Templar, Dark Angels in a sense.
Oh, buddy, that sounds like a really creative idea. That's something I never considered actually. And the aesthetics you can make out of that, it's awesome.
Yeah. I've loved the Inner Circle Companions. The like 3-man squads for the Dark Angels. I got 2 of those when they went on pre-order. And I'm just scraping away all the Dark Angel iconography to paint them up as my Templars of Sanguinius.
That's actually so sorry, go on.
Yeah. I think that the Templars of Sanguinius are sort of, they have the gene frost of the Blood Angels. they have the visual aesthetic of Dark Angels a lot, and they have the functionality in terms of organization of the Black Templars more so.
Oh, that sounds really awesome. That's actually really cool sounding.
Yeah, I'm really happy with it. I just have this. I struggle with if I were to just get Blood Angels, I'd struggle with that because I know that I'm not in control of what happens to them. Like, they're not gonna, but if I did Blood Angels, Games Workshop could come out tomorrow and do like, oh yeah, no, the Blood Angels were wiped out, sorry. And I'm just there and I can't do anything about it, you know? So that's why I really like doing my own things.
Yeah, homebrewing is really fun, and I think that's like one of the main spotlights of Warhammer. And something I don't think people consider that much is that lore is there. It exists to help you, or it exists to give the world, existence and something to be interested in. But at the end of the day, the lore also exists for you to make some homebrewing, right?
It is, in a sense, the sandbox in which you can build your own sand castle.
Exactly, it is. It's exactly like that. It's Play-Doh for you to help create things.
Exactly. It's I absolutely love not just doing my own homebrews, but seeing other people's homebrew because it is such an expression of creativity. It's that, and seeing people's minis has always been something I absolutely love with the hobby. Just seeing what people make and enjoy to make.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. When we're talking about homebrewing, right? So for my very original Space Marine chapter, Thunder Angels, their origin story was all over the place, right? They weren't originally Blood Angel successors. They were Space Wolves and Ultramarines, then Dark Angels, then Imperial Fists. It's like I couldn't decide for years what they were.
Yeah.
And even before then, they weren't called Thunder Angels. They were called Mjolnir.
Oh, yeah, I think I remember seeing that, yeah.
Yeah, because, their insignia is a hammer with wings.
Yeah.
But years later, when I decided, you know what, let me make them to Blood Angel successors, because I want to do the thing where I paint their helmets in certain colors, like what Blood Angels do.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, okay, maybe I should change the name Mjolnir, because Mjolnir doesn't seem, fitting for Blood Angels.
It is a very, space wolfy name, given its Norse ties, yeah.
And that was one of the directions I was going with them at the time, right? But then I thought, I should do something Angel, not Storm Angels, because that's a homebrew someone already wrote for a channel. So how about Thunder Angels? I'm like, oh yeah, I really like that. It sounds really good. And plus, it'll still fit with the theme of the Thor's hammer as their insignia. It would still be fitting.
Yeah.
So you can call that failing upwards.
Yeah, I think if I were to just I don't know the word for it, but if you consider Thunder Angels, I think it really fits with Blood Angel Shock Assault as well, because shock, like the thunder that's strikes in that sense as well.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So the reason you picked Blood Angels was the helmet coloration organization.
Yeah, because their heavy units will have blue helmets, and their fast units would have yellow helmets. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. My chapter says goodbye to the Codex Astartes for the most part.
Mm-hmm. It's more of guidelines.
Yeah, exactly. That is one of the big Black Templar inspirations for them. They can't read, but
how can I break the rules if I can't read?
Exactly. But they do stick mostly to the 1,000 limit. It's officially considered to be under investigation whether they are at 1,000 Marines or not. The chapter is... Yeah, sorry, go on.
Oh, no, go on.
The chapter is split into two halves. So you have the half that always stays on their home planet and the half that is always crusading.
Okay.
The leadership is they do have an official chapter master, Paladius, and then they have two sub chapter masters who are in charge of each half whenever the main chapter master isn't there. So if the chapter master is on the home world, then this one dude is in charge of the crusading fleet entirely.
So they're almost like lieutenants of the chapter master.
Kinda, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I like that. That sounds really
they
cool.
are the Lord Ordinator and Lord Sacrosanct, the two lieutenants.
Oh, that's really cool, man. That's really cool. And even then, with my Blood Angels, right? Thunder Angels, they do try to follow the Codex Astartes, right? They do follow it, but there's stuff about them that's still sus because a lot of their units or big name characters in the chapter are named after demons, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we have Mammon and Stolas, just flat out demon names.
Yeah.
But then again, it's not so risque because there's other Space Marines named like Asmodeus, Mephiston,
True.
or what's that one on Blood Angel? He has wings. What's his name? Azeroth.
Azeroth, yeah. Yeah. And then again, it is also like just names, so it might be cause for like suspicion, but not action quite yet, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's one thing I really like about Space Marine Homebrew specifically is different adherences to the Codex Astartes.
Mm-hmm.
How you can make these that follow it like it's a Bible in a sense, or you can.
It is exactly that. It's like look at all the different kinds of Christianities there are.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's also the different reasons to follow it or not follow it. Like I'm working on another homebrew, the Midnight Justiciars at the moment, and they, as the name suggests, they have a very Night Lordsy vibe to them. And they don't like the Codex Astartes, but they follow it to lessen suspicion on them. Or they at least follow it to an extent. They are like semi-compliant.
And you and I were actually talking about this once. Night Lords are also one of your favorites.
Yes.
Or in terms of like Chaos, it's like they're one of your favorite factions in 40k, yeah?
Yes. I have loved Night Lords since I got into the hobby, but the thing was, I wanted to do Night Lords, but I quickly learned that green stuff was the thing, and I was like, ooh, I want to get good at green stuffing and be able to like sculpt flesh over their shoulders and all that stuff. And then I never did, so I never really got Night Lords as like an army. But that new kill team I really want to get, because they already have that stuff without me having to sculpt anything.
And I think they're out today, I think, by the time we're doing this recording, yeah.
They might be, yeah.
And here's the thing. Wow, Canadian representation at long last in 40k. Because Canadian war crimes, World War One.
I actually don't know about that.
Yeah. I won't be telling an expert on that, but in terms of armies that commit the most war crimes in World War One, or the ones that were like most, okay, guys, tone it down a bit. It's World War One Canadians of all people.
All right, that's interesting to know.
Do you want to know why I use a knife? Guns are too quick. You can't savor the little emotion.
Also, knives never jam.
You see, in their last moments, people reveal who they really are. Want to know how many of your friends were cowards, Batman?
That's a really good impression. That's
I don't
really
know.
good. No, it is. It is. It absolutely is.
But
so yeah, go on.
Here's something I'm going to mention about that kill team box, right? So we know in context that they're Romanians, right? And if you were to compare them to a historical, group, because many Space Marine chapters they are, Vlad the Impaler Romanians.
Yeah.
So that one model in which it's a corpse, acting as a banner because it's a corpse on a stick. Technically speaking, that's a Turk on a stick, or a Turkish kebab.
Oh. I'd actually never considered like Vlad the Impaler, but that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a friend who made that joke once. I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's so true. Now he just needs to wear the fizz and all.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm looking at them now. Yeah, I hadn't considered that about the banner.
Yeah, but the fact that that exists, for them all, it's like that's so perfect and awesome.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely.
I imagine they would try to keep that corpse alive too, just because they want to be so assholey about it.
Like, have you seen the Death of Hope?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
that.
like that guy who's hanging there, and the skin is like being pulled at the back of his head and everything. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wonder if it's because that's clearly a Space Marine body with all the ports and stuff that are in there. I wonder if it's like either it's a fellow Night Lord who fell who can just like spout their like ways they can say like we come for you and stuff like that, or it's an enemy. It could be either or, really.
I always had the idea that as an Ultramarine that's in the Death of Hope.
Yeah. Oh, I meant the guy on the banner for the night.
Oh, the banner, right?
Yeah.
It could be like an enemy Space Marine or something of the such.
I think it would be funny if it was just like a fellow Night Lord who fell, but they didn't have an extra dreadnought, so they made him a banner so he can just.
Oh, that sounds like something they would do. That sounds like something they would do.
Yeah. He could just shout at the enemy the stuff like Ave Dominus Nox and we come for you and stuff like that. That would be pretty great.
Oh, but get the stick out of my back.
I have an actual stick up my ass. So are the Thunder Angels your only homebrew, or do you do other homebrews as well?
So I actually have other homebrews, right? I'll tell you real quick about this one for Bretonians because despite all my jokes and despite me like going off on them from time to time, Bretonians are pretty cool. Like I do like them. They're the most knightly of knights you can get from Warhammer. So I have this one house, or I'm going to call them house, for this little realm of Bretonia, and they're named Gervais because my last name's Jarvis, but that's the amplified translation of the original French name Gervais.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's so. So in France, my last name is Gervais.
All right.
Long story short, there was this knight errant when he was like 18. He was tasked to kill a cockatrice. The creature that's like half chicken, half serpent. Yeah. And he was 18, but with him there was this peasant that was like in his late 50s. And when they got there, it was actually the peasant that was able to kill the cockatrice because he's more experienced as a soldier. And because of that, this is still a bit of a work in progress, but the idea is that the Green Knight actually appeared and blessed the peasant for his, valor and stuff.
Ooh,
but the knight, but the thing is, the 18-year-old knight who was there, he really didn't like that. So on their trip back home, he actually killed the peasant and claimed that he killed the cockatrice.
Oh.
And so because he told the story and he was made a lord and got his own realm, he was actually then cursed that, going forward, all of his ancestors will die in a embarrassing and horrific way.
All right. I was gonna say there, then did he like get the ire of the Green Knight? But yeah, the curse. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I like that.
And this actually also carries out to AOS because I even have an idea for a Flesh Ear Cords homebrew because they are actual Bretonians.
Okay, is that going to be like just that same house, but later on in a sense, or like in the AOS?
Yeah, exactly. That is exactly that. It's House Gervais survived our old world, or at least a Grail Knight of theirs has.
Yeah,
who somehow became a Grail Knight, but that's a long story. So he tries to rebuild Bretonia in the realm of Gairan. However, his kingdom would fall and they would all become ghouls. So Jarvis curse even carries out to AOS.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, despite all my jokes of, Flesh Ear Course being AOS Bretonians, that is actually something I just came up with, and it's like, oh, this would actually be cool and fitting for Flesh Ear Courts.
They would, yeah, absolutely. I've mostly stuck to Stormcast when it comes to AOS.
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do like Seraphon. I just haven't. For reasons. Generally, it's because I always come up with something else for 40k that I want to buy and like build whenever I go to the store, and I end up not getting Seraphon. But
yeah, I actually have a little homebrew of Stormcast Eternals, but I won't go on tangent on this one. But the very basic is that their armor is bronze, purple, and red, with some silver exceptions here and there. But like pauldrons and stuff.
Yeah.
But their name are the Heralds of Gal Maraz.
Ooh, I like it.
Mm-hmm.
What role does the Galmaras play in AOS? I'm not really sure, actually.
So that's Sigmar's hammer, of course, and currently it's being wielded by the Celestin Prime, the sort of prime arc of Stormcast Eternals.
Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
I wonder if they do a model for Sigmar, if they're going to do something like either he has Galmaraz again, or if he has his own new godly weapons. I wonder how they're going to do that.
He has a replica. That'd be kind of funny. He just has a replica because the Lord Celest or the Celestin Prime just was like, no, I want to keep it.
It's a symbol of office.
Yeah. That'd be. I'm not sure. Like, or I suppose we have like sort of equivalents to Sigmar in Nagash stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, a Sigmar model could make sense. Yeah, it'd be neat.
Like, I mean, there are a bunch of god characters in AOS that have their models. Like, there's Teclis, Morathi, Nagash. Technically, Archaon was the Archaon model that is in AOS is from Old World, technically. But he has a model, so there isn't really a reason why Sigmar shouldn't have one.
Who knows? Maybe now with the revamp or whatever you want to call it of the Stormcast range, with everything vanishing.
It was not technically all the models. It was technically a chamber of Stormcast models, but even then, it's like, all right, if this is the direction we're going.
Yeah.
It'll be like if Space Marines, if they decide, we're going to cut the Intercessor models and go all in for like Phobos Armored Marines. It's like,
it'd be a bit funky.
It was just a little sus.
Yeah. I think they were a bit hasty in a sense with their announcement of these things are vanishing, because like some of them, like the Liberators, are getting new models, and I think it would have gone over way smoother if they had more just new versions of the same models already announced when the old ones went out.
Yeah.
Because then it wouldn't have been as much of a, this vanishes forever. It would have been more like, oh, well, that makes sense. They're getting new models.
And, here's the thing. It's like, it's sort of obvious that they were going to get rid of the, like, very old models from first edition of AOS, of course. That I sort of knew and sort of expected. But when something like the Sacrosanct Chamber, they're the Paladins of Stormcast, it's like... I imagine they would try to update them later on because they want to be a little bit more uniform and they have an idea for what they want to do for Stormcast armor going forward. But it's like, all right, guys, it's sort of sun, but all right. But also I'm thinking it's not like they're expected to just keep making new models forever, because eventually they might have warehouses full of stuff that no one's buying. Because that can be a thing. It's like, you have to retire something sometime.
Yes, you absolutely do.
Yeah.
It does feel a bit odd in what I imagine is arguably the main range, in a sense, of Age of Sigmar. because the Stormcast are very much like the AOS Space Marines.
They are.
But yeah, they're like, you have to retire things eventually for sure.
Mm-hmm. But that was not the most spicy thing that Games Workshop has done recently, and
No.
and so on to the point though. What do you have to say about female custodians? I'm interested in what you have to think or say on that.
Where to start? I don't mind the fact that custodians can be female. I think it's a neat thing. I know that there have been mentions in the was like, oh, they took the sons of noble family stuff, but it doesn't. The way I see it is, it said they took sons. It never said they can't take daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike, for example, Space Marines, where I know that it's like a pretty set thing where a lot of their new organs and stuff are incompatible with females. They never really said anything like that for Custodes. So the way I see it, it's not impossible. It's just sort of they never did in the way that lore was stated. What I disagree with is the way they handled it.
Oh, yeah.
Where it was just a mention
There's no war in Bossing Say.
Yeah. There was just a mention in the codex where, oh, this one is a she, and no further explanation. And then on Twitter they just went, no, they've always had females. When they could have done a lot more. They could have done that at some point. Like, they could have easily said that they were just male, but they expanded who they pick to have less of a constriction on the amount of recruits they have, due to how dark and grim things are looking in the 41st millennium. There's so much they could have done and could have handled it a lot better.
But they didn't. That's the thing people had trouble with.
They didn't.
Yeah, and here's the thing too. I agree with you, right? It's like, I always agreed on the idea that female custodians could exist because there isn't so much the emphasis on, male hormones, how they accept gene seed or not, because the idea is that custodians are made through a process that's basically alchemy, right?
Yeah.
So the idea that there's female custodians could exist, right? It's not impossible. They could exist, but I imagine that it's like very rare, where it's not exactly like 50-50, like Stormcast Eternals. So of how I imagined it, and some writers even shared this idea too when they were like writing some custodian lore, and Black Library writers wanted to explore this idea in their books before, from what I've been told from hearsay. But again, it would be rare, but it would be like shiny Pokemon rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've seen it. And fans and people within the fan base thought this too, like Alpha Booza in his If the Emperor had text speech device series, right? The parody of 40K. But one of the custodian characters in that, series was a female, because it was voiced by a voice actress, and she used her regular voice for the character.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I had entirely forgotten that. I remember watching the show, but I entirely forgot that.
Yeah, looking back on it, there was actually a character that was like that. So, again, it's an idea that could happen, but of how Games Workshop handled it, it's like, guys, you're just making an ass of yourself. What is this?
Absolutely. I think another thing that could have been attributed as well is a lot of the custodians were, to my understanding at least, made prior to the Unification War, and they were taken as the sons of warlords and stuff that the Emperor conquered originally.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I see it, at least, that era of humanity was very dark towards itself.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense, in my opinion, for these warlords to have had certain potential gender prejudices, and that's why they never had any daughter who was their prized offspring. There was always sons who could succeed them as warlords and stuff like that.
Exactly.
And
That's
so
that's
why the emperor ended up only getting sons from them. But the emperor's or the Imperium is, I wouldn't say good, but much better towards itself. There's not that same prejudice.
it's
I
like
don't see it as being a thing. So
like technically the modern day Imperial man is dark. Yes, it's just that compare of how they treat their, maybe it's not the best example, but the unification wars out in Terra, it's like this is the era in which there was no unification. It's like where prejudice and everything went rampant. It's like the Emperor going off saying, "Oh, we shall unite." They would be like, go fuck yourself."
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I listened to the audio, the Valdor.
Yes, that was good.
Audiobook recently, and one of the things there is that it's stated that in like a contrast to between Custodian and Space Marines, it's stated that the Space Marines needed the Primarchs as a sort of anchor for their stability, to have them not be as unstable as the Thunder Warriors were. So they needed that connection to the Primarchs. So the way I see it, it makes sense that they have to be sons, because they have to use the template of the Primarchs for that the Primarchs were all sons. The Custodians didn't have that.
Exactly. Because
and as you mentioned, they were alchemically made, not the same gene modding. It's a different process entirely.
Yes, and I was actually talking to a friend about this, right? Of how they could have done this, introduce the idea of female custodians, right? So pre heresy, it was all males because unification wars, and the conquered warlords gave up their sons to the emperor for them to become custodians, right? So that still remains the same. The difference is that by Constantine, after the end of the Horus Heresy, I imagine there will be some reformations that have happened, kind of like with the, Astartes, right? The Codex Astartes was introduced, and the Space Marine Legions became chapters. And the friend of mine shared this idea that in her headcanon, or if she were to do some retconning of considering what Games Workshop has done, she would have done the idea that Constantine would have then accepted females from, noble houses on Terra.
Yeah. And I believe
who would question, who would question like big man Constantine?
Absolutely, yeah.
Exactly. Not some random guy 10,000 years later,
Yeah. And I believe it was mentioned somewhere as well that, like, at one point, the Custodies were such a thing that, like, noble families literally, like, lined up to offer their sons and such to the Custodies, because it would be such an honor for one of their house to become a Custodian. And it wouldn't surprise me if, like, sure, at first maybe it was just sons, but, like, eventually, surely someone in 10,000 years has to have had the idea, what if we offer a daughter? Like, it's 10,000 years. That's a lot of people. That's
like things changed in 2,000 years in our own human history.
Yeah, things change in 100 years.
Yes,
like, it's a lot of time. It's often easy to forget how much time that is.
It is. It's like, and especially for humans, it's like, technically speaking, through 10,000 years of change, humans will have evolved separately.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they should start looking like crap people or something.
But yeah, one thing that I do find a shame, and I know a lot of people have been like, oh, that's not an argument, but I do find it a bit of a shame that the Sisters of Silence seemingly get no love during this. I would say that I wish they had put the effort they put into Female Custodians into the Sisters of Silence.
Yes.
But they didn't really put any effort into the Female Custodians at all.
They didn't.
So it's that's
like it's one way.
But I wish that the Sisters of Silence got an equal amount of love and attention. Especially since they don't have their own army, they're just part of the Custodes army.
And here's what I'm going to say, right? Of how they could have handled Custodians better, end product wise, right?
Yeah.
So maybe what they could have done is that they still have that short story and codex, but also, oh, sorry, never mind. I'm so, what they could have done is that they could have done something like keep the short story in the codex, but then also introduce a new custodian character model, but it's a female.
Yeah, that's something that I found so weird that they released this alongside their new, like, I know it's not really new models except for one kind of squat dude, but they released this box of Custodes, and they didn't even, like, they could have just added, here's a female head sprue for this.
Yes, and here's the thing. I'm not saying, custodian units going forward should have a female option because, to still emphasize the point that it's a rarity, that there is the existence of female custodians, you could do this with a female character model, right? And
absolutely.
The reason why she's so special is not only because she has her own little homebrew lore, and she's also a named character within the custodian's army. Because technically speaking, there's only one actual named character in that army, tabletop wise.
Yeah, it's just Trajan, isn't it?
Yes. It would have been a perfect opportunity to do a brand new named character. And the reasons why this named character so special is because she's one of those rare exceptions within the Custodes because she's a woman. That would have been interesting.
It would have been. Absolutely more interesting than a tweet.
Yes. Yes.
I do find it a bit odd as well. I know it, like, everything starts up drama in one way or another, but when you consider it, you're generally not gonna be able to tell, like, if a custodian is male or female. You're never gonna see them out of their armor. 99.999% of the time they're gonna wear a helmet. You're not gonna be able to tell.
Yes, and I think someone did this interesting tweet once, right? Where it could have been like a Samus situation or in that one Halo animated short where they assume this one custodian or this Master Chief or this bounty hunter is a male, but when the helmet's gone and they see it's a woman, it's like, oh, whoa, you're a woman this whole time?
Yeah.
Imagine how interesting that would have been.
It would have been. Just anything more than what they actually did.
Yeah, but they didn't go that route. They were like,
no.
There's no war in Bossing, say, Big Brother loves you.
Yeah.
Zinch is your friend.
It's that comic.
Yeah.
I forget the name now, but it's great.
Yeah, it was, honestly. And if I can say one thing, and people might crucify me for this, unfortunately, I just don't think much of these Sisters of Silence.
That's fair. I mean, they don't
crucify
get
him,
much.
crucify him.
They don't get much, so there's not much to think of. But no, that's fair.
But you know what? If they did more units for Sisters of Silence, like make them just part of the Custodian's army and elaborate on that more, I think people would have been fine with that too. Along with like that one female custodian character model, right? Maybe do Sisters of Silence on jetpacks, or give them like jet bikes to be like the talent of custodians, like, because technically they're the Emperor's private army. So the Emperor will be the eagle, custodians are his one talent, and the Silence would be his other talent.
Yeah.
But no, they didn't do that.
No, they didn't. They might get something further down the line, but as of right now, nope.
And maybe they could retire Sisters of Silence, maybe, considering of how they retire other models.
That is true. I heard something about, like, Agents of the Imperium getting more love relatively soon, so it could be that they maybe move being something into that than being Custodes only.
Like, even then, it's like, I don't know why they would want to do that, because like the Scutari Mechanicus a few years back, they were their own their own separate armies in the tabletop, but eventually Games Workshop merged them together as one Mechanicus army. And same thing happened with Eldar. There was the Craftworlders and the Harlequins, but eventually they merged them together as one army. So it's like, there's really no excuse to not to do this for Sisters of Silence and Custodes.
That's fair, yeah.
But
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
But even then, with how Games Workshop handled this, and you and me, we gave our sensible takes on this, right?
Yeah.
And yes, I am going to be bold and say this. What we said was sensible and civil of how we're talking about it right now, right? What I don't find civil is going on YouTube and making like 50 plus videos going forward, going Games Workshop is woke.
Yeah,
I'm
That's
sorry,
something I
I
was
can't
gonna
stand that
mention.
sort of stuff anymore. It's like, oh God, shut up.
Yeah, it's a major shame because obviously there are people who are very sensible about it. They can express how they feel about it. They don't just go, "Oh, women, fuck that. I don't like it. I hate it. I hate women." There's people that go like that. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who go also, "Oh, I love this purely because it is gonna create drama."
Yes.
That's the only reason I love it. I don't love it because I like the army. I don't love it because I like the idea. I love it because it's gonna start trouble. And
that I can't stand. It's like you don't piss on someone's lake and say, "Oh, it's raining."
Yeah, and that's a major shame. Of course, there are a lot of people who are genuinely interested. A lot of people who are like, "What about previously stated lore that they are sons?" And I can agree. Like Games Workshop didn't offer any explanation. They just did.
Yeah.
But it's very unfortunate that there are people like that who just are there to fan any flame they can. I also I don't want to be rude, but I find it funny people who have left the hobby entirely over this.
Yeah, I'm going to say that it is. I do find that funny because they are going to come back because they invested too much money into something like this. It's like I was like, oh, I'm leaving you. Oh, I returned back home because I miss you.
Yeah, and like imagine if you're.
It sort of came off like Bud Light.
Imagine if you're a car dude. You love Volvos, we'll say, because I'm Swedish. And you get this Volvo. You buy a Volvo and you love it. You make you're like, you might even like buy a used one that you repair and repaint and everything, and you spend hours and hours on it. You spend a lot of like hundreds if not thousands of dollars of money, and then Volvo could sort of say, "Hey, you know what? This car can have a cup holder," and you go, "Fuck it! I'm never gonna drive again. I'm selling the car. I'm walking everywhere I go." It's like it doesn't make any sense. Like it's just
true. It's
dumb.
true.
Yeah. So that I find that incredibly silly.
Or I don't know. It's like, I do find that funny. It's sort of like with Bud Light. It's like mere guilt by association with someone on Instagram, and it's like, oh, you're woke. Now we're gonna make you broke. Yeah, buy all their beer and destroy it all. That will show them.
Oh, that is. I have a funny story akin to that. So
I don't even drink Bud Light, but even I know it's beer flavored water. But go on.
Yeah. It's about the whole like guilt by association thing. Mm-hmm. So 2 years ago, maybe now, when I was my most active on Twitter, I was at work, and I got a DM on Twitter whilst at work that said, "Hey, I see you are following this person. You have, I think it was like 6 hours to unfollow them, or else there will be consequences." And I was at work. I didn't see this. I was at work for over the next 6 hours. So
was it me?
No, it wasn't. I forget who it was, but so I didn't see this warning, quote unquote, at all until their arbitrary timer had already run out. And so when I get home, I see this as well, that they had written like, "You haven't unfollowed them, so I have no other choice. They unfollowed me."
Oh no! Stop! Don't come back.
Yeah, I found it so fucking funny.
Bye, Karen.
They made it sound like they were gonna come and murder my family or something.
Or
And
even
it's like,
dox
no,
you. It's like, but no, you
yeah.
unfollowed them. That's so lame.
Yeah, they unfollowed me, and I always find that so dumb. Just like, you are guilty because you follow a person I don't like. It's just dumb.
Oh no, but it is dumb. But even then, it's like I can't take the criticism of Warhammer has gone woke seriously, because of what people would find woke is either cringe or it's like, dude, settle down. Because like,
Yeah,
oh, here's a brand new unit we're making for Kislev in Total War, right? They're the personal bodyguards of Catherine, and they're going to be, all women bodyguards, right? But then someone will do a video like, oh, you don't do this because unhistorical for women to be in combat roles, right? But I don't have a problem with women in combat roles and anywhere else. And it's like, is it okay or not?
yeah. It's also like,
can there be black ultramarines? And it's like, dude,
it's
relax.
like, of course, yeah. It's the Imperium spans 1,000,000 worlds. That is so many people. It's just insane to think that somehow it'd be majority any specific color.
And here's the thing. Even before that book, in which it had the Black Ultramarine on the cover, if I'm right, I think there was this Dark Angels graphic novel that had a Black Dark Angel. So it's like either some people just didn't know that existed, or it's like, dude, relax.
Yeah, it's a lot of people go too far. It's similar to like people who just like when someone paints, say, their Space Marine pink, and people just go, "Oh, your PC, whatever," and it's just like someone just wanted to paint a Space Marine a color they like or a way they like or something that mattered to them. It doesn't affect you. It doesn't change anything for you. Fucking relax. Like it's so silly.
And I will say, pink was actually a men's color back then.
No, was it?
Yeah, it was. And like, I think it was the 50s or something like that, where pink was a color associated for men, or pre-World War II. Oh. And blue was associated for women.
I did not know that.
That's why the Virgin Mary wears blue, because that was the female color back then.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, the more you know.
The more you know.
Yeah. You learn something every day.
But it's like, I'm just going to say this one last time. It's like, I can't watch videos anymore that has something along the line of woke, because like, guys, it's not 2017 anymore. That con farm has died. It's like,
yeah, it's just trying to farm people's outrage, and the outrage is being fanned by people who just like to see drama with no actual stakes in the matter. It's
the Imperium has gone woke, father. It went what?
Yeah, as if that would even matter. There are like way more important things to care about, like active demon invasions and shit.
But you know what? I'm going to also say this, despite all of our, us punching down on the whole, it's all woke argument, right? What I am going to also punch down on, right? So when they did Female Custodians, I think people on the other side, though, were as guilty, like you said, where it's like, this is going to piss them off. But also, look at the representation that the Imperial man has. Look how progressive it is. This will get them. And it's like, but guys, before you're going off on how the Imperium is this, horrible fascist dictatorship, there is no good that comes out of it. There is no redeeming factors of it. We must tear down the Imperium as much as we can. But as soon as there's a female custodian, it's all applause and be like, we must also make the Imperium this so progressive utopia. And it's like, guys, you can't have both.
No. And also, I wouldn't say that the Imperium having female custodians is in any way progressive. It's just something that is...
I know that, but it's like, and their point of view it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I get what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like, guys, your whole tangent on how the Imperial Man is, irredeemably evil. It's like, do you want to be irredeemably evil in your own perspective, or do you want it to be this utopia of very progressive thinking? And it's like you can't put all your groceries in one bag and tell a person, but also don't make it heavy.
Yeah, you can't have both, and it's the kind of I believe it's called virtue signaling, where it's whatever fits the image you want to portray, you stand by at the time.
Yeah, but even then, but here's the thing. Yes, the Imperial Man is dark and is a decaying empire. Yes, keep that. But all I'm saying, guys, is that it's not Nazi Germany.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, and this is surprisingly coming from the left side. I feel weird saying that, right? But they wanted to make it Nazi Germany, right? Or they want it presented to be like that, and it's like, why would you want that though? That's not.
Yeah.
So it's like you're doing what actual Nazis want the Imperial Man to be, and it's like, what's going on?
That's also something that you remember of there that I find a major shame in how the hobby is at the moment. I'm still like relatively new to the hobby, so I don't know how long it's a thing, but how anytime there's a thing, there's this it's leftist, it's rightist being thrown this way, and it's just like it's a hobby where we collect plastic toys.
Yes.
I don't think left, right, center, anything really plays a part in it the way I see it, at least.
It's like,
I think it's a bit of a shame that it's being thrown around anytime there's anything.
Yeah, it's exactly that, and it's like, guys, just okay. What I'm trying to say, when it comes to something like 40K, yes, it's escapism, and yes, it can be something to escape from a real world. What I'm saying is that it doesn't mean we can't have something like representation. I'm not saying 40K can't have something like that, right? But at the same time, it doesn't mean it's immediately woke.
Yeah. It's
but also it depends on context.
It does. Overall, it's a bit of a clusterfuck.
Mm-hmm. It is. But the whole tangent, right? Let me give my comment on the whole argument. Oh, this could also open the doorway to female space marines.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not for that because, the lore has been very specific on how space marines are made and why it must be men because of how they accept gene seed, right? I think what people don't get is that if they were to do female space marines, it would stop being females. They would be technically trans guys.
In a sense, yeah, I think.
Yeah, in a sense, because of how the male hormones they would have to take in, and someone did art on this actually, on how accurate a female space marine would be. Well, technically speaking, there would be a trans guy, and it's like that's a little spicy subject that I don't think Games Workshop would want to take.
Probably not, no. And there's also and it applies for both Custodes and Space Marines. I doubt they consider I doubt gender is a thought for them because duty is what matters to them. Mm-hmm. Their service to the Imperium. I don't really think they care at all. Mm-hmm. In the case of the Space Marines, it's like if they could, they probably would recruit females. It's just that
it's just in their science, in their world, that just doesn't work.
Yeah. But if it did work, I'm pretty sure the Space Marines would. Because, hey, people who are... If you pass the test, whether you're male, female, or whatever, if you pass the test, you're capable of fighting for the Imperium.
But even then, it's like, there were Space Marines that were spicy towards Primaris Marines.
Yeah.
And Space Marines can be very conservative of how they do things in their chapter.
True. That is true. It's something I don't think Games Workshop is gonna do, at least not anytime soon.
Like, at least with Custodians, at least that was something debated upon within the fan base and something debated upon within Games Workshop themselves. Because again, of what goes into Custodians and the lore provided for Custodians, right?
Yeah.
That's a little safe route that they could take, but they didn't take it well. And
they did.
And even then, it's like 40K has this huge palette of armies that you can explore and that you can be a part of. So, and plenty of them having their own awesome female characters too. So it's like, and the whole argument that, 40K is nothing but Space Marines. It's like, so you want even more Space Marines, even more Space Marine screen time?
Yeah. The way I
and even to people who don't even like Space Marines, so it's like, what's the point?
Yeah, it's the way I always saw the female Space Marine. I really like how we have male Space Marines and female Adeptus Sororitas. They're very different, but the way I see it, they are in a sense the opposite equivalents of each other. I just wish the Adeptus Sororitas got more screen time to match their equivalents in a sense with Space Marines.
But they have been recently, at least to me, especially in like 9th edition. Like, look how big their army has become from 8th to 9th.
That is true.
And all the novels they got of it, even comic books from Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is looking good in that sense. That's my perspective on it, at least.
Mm-hmm. Like, all I'm saying, guys, is that they're getting better at it now. At least to me.
Yeah. No, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. It was a firestorm, and on that day, I was disappointed with a lot of people.
It was, yeah. It absolutely was. And it's one of the reasons I personally don't think Games Workshop is going to do or attempt female Space Marines, at least not soon, because I think even they saw how much of a shitstorm it was just by having female custodians, and I think they're gonna stay away from trying female Space Marines, at least for a while, but I could be wrong.
It's like, I don't know, guys. Work with a palette that you already have, and you can create a lot of great things out of that.
They can, yeah.
At least with Custodians, it was a little bit on the safe side, but again, they didn't do it safe.
They didn't. No, they fucked it up entirely, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was like throwing firecrackers at a bunch of tigers. It's like, what do you expect would happen?
Yeah. It's a mess.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good way to just summarize the entire thing.
Yeah. But actually, with that, I think we're actually on a good spot where I can actually ask you some questions that people have asked of us. That's a horrible way to saying it, but
yeah. No, absolutely, yeah.
Actually, one of these questions was actually from Discord, right? So,
yeah.
Well, what would you say is your favorite sandwich?
Favorite sandwich?
Mm-hmm.
I do really. Are we talking regular?
Like regular sandwiches, or like real world sandwiches. Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say a like Subway sandwich would be chicken teriyaki, but I've been making this sandwich I saw on Instagram. So it's you take this is the most unhealthy shit, but you take a packet of bacon, you like spread it out so they're laying on top of each other in about the width of a slice of toast. You fry it for a bit so that it gets to whatever color you want. Then you take 2 slices of like American hamburger cheese, lay on either side.
Oh boy.
Then the bread on top of the cheese. Okay. Then I generally do 3 eggs that I mix together with some spices and stuff.
Oh shit.
Coat the back of the sandwiches, then turn the sandwiches so that they can fry the egg there. And then I scramble the eggs in what remains of the pan and put it in between the bacon when I fold the sandwich up. So it's like 6 slices of bacon, 3 eggs, 2 slices of cheese, and two slices of toast.
Oh damn! That sounds like a heart attack.
It does, but it's delicious.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yes. As
And
one might be able to tell from that, I am not in good shape.
but I'm probably the most lame person when it comes to sandwiches, right? Mine is whole wheat bread, butter, and bologna. That's my
simple
sandwich.
is good sometimes. Sometimes I'd like to just do a sandwich with just butter and a slice of ham.
Yeah, that's mine's the most lame sandwich in the world.
Sometimes simple is so nice.
Yeah, you don't have to spend $50 to make a sandwich, guys. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah, that one is a bit of a bit of overkill.
Yeah.
But it's delicious.
Oh, and I think you'll like this question, right?
Yeah.
So, what is an AOS fantasy character you think would translate well onto 40K and vice versa?
Oh, I need to. Oh, what is his name? What is his name now? I need to look up his name. Hang on. Because I have a very specific character in mind, and I had his name.
Oh yeah.
I'm so sorry. I'm looking it up as fast as I can. Stormcast. Here, Ionis Cryptborn. The big dude on a dragon.
Yeah, the guy with the ribcage breastplate. Yeah, he's awesome. He's Hispanic as fuck.
Yeah. He would make an excellent chaplain.
Oh, buddy, he would be.
I would consider like maybe Salamander's chaplain since he's on a dragon.
Oh god, that's awesome.
Yeah, that is my like because I saw the question where soon after it was posted, and my mind immediately went to Iona.
Like imagine that chap Ionis though, but he's on a salamander, like or no, the magma droth from the Fire Slayers.
Oh yeah,
that'd be a perfect salamander chaplain. That'd be so perfect.
Yeah, it absolutely would, for sure. So that is like my immediate go-to from AOS to 40K. The other way around though, can I cheat by saying Be'lakor?
Hey, you can go all for it, man.
Be'lakor already exists in both.
So technically, yeah.
Oh, you know what? The Sanguinor as a Stormcast.
Okay. Yeah, maybe as a type of Stormcast. Sure, I can see that. Maybe an aspect. Maybe an aspect of the Celestin Prime. Maybe,
yeah. That is probably like one that I'd go with. Like either the Sanguinor or Dante, but the Sanguinor most so.
And you know what? If I could just say one thing real quick, right? I imagine if they did a new model of the Sanguinor, what I would want to see on his model base, or on his base, right, is where we see like corn demons being like disintegrated in front of it.
That would be great.
Like the holy light of the Sanguinor is burning these demons alive and turning them into ashes, or something like that. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. One thing that would be funny if it was just like any 40K orc just swooshes over to AOS and he can't really tell he's somewhere else. He just sees new things to fight and he's just happy about that. He doesn't realize he's not in like his own universe. That would be kind of funny.
Or like he sees a cruel boy and it's like, well, this is a very strange orc boy.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, Ionis Cryptborn and the Sanguinor. Probably the two I'd go.
And you know what? I have my own idea too. Nagash as a Necron.
Oh yeah.
Like my idea is that this Necron has ascended into becoming a Catan.
Ooh.
Like this part Catan, part Necron thing. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be very interesting actually.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you go for from 40K to AOS?
No, I don't think I actually thought of that question that hard, but if I were to do like AOS to 40K, that's my idea.
Yeah. The Silent King to AOS to take over for Nagash.
Or maybe It's one of those Ozark Bone Reaper characters, right?
Mm.
But he basically becomes like the Silent King or something like that.
Ah, yeah.
Or, actually I have a better idea, right? You have Frayne from 40K as a Lumineth Realm Lord.
Ah, yeah. What about what is it with me in names today? Lilith Hesperax as a daughter of Cain.
Oh God, that works so well.
Yes.
Oh God, dude, that works so well. I never considered that.
That's basically what she is. Like she's dark elf, she's female, she kills shit. That's
Oh yeah, and I have a huge history with Lilith as a character, actually, with art I've commissioned of her. Yeah.
all right.
And that one Lilith video I made, I'm not sure if you ever watched it, right? So that was the first time I got like a little warning from YouTube of being safe with thumbnails because I had Lilith cake on the thumbnail.
That is great. I've actually I have from back when I was doing my own podcast.
Yeah.
I have my own Discord server.
Mm-hmm.
It ended up not being really used for the podcast, but it still exists.
Mm-hmm.
And I've set up so that whenever someone posts art, it became a thing. Whenever someone posts art, they tag, like if they post art of Drew, they tag the that I have it. And I've set a bot up so that whenever someone posts Ari or any art, the bot says nice.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. Can you say that again?
Whenever someone posts Drukari or Asuriani art, the bot says nice in response because elves are the best.
Yeah, they are, especially when it's like dark elves, because it's like that goth girlfriend you always wanted, but until you get one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, that works so well. Why didn't I not consider that?
It does. So, some characters are just perfect for it. Others, not so much.
Here's one. Gotrek in the Leagues of Votann.
Oh, yeah. Do the Leagues of Votann have anything like
actual Slayers? No, I don't think so. But what I imagine is that Gotrek, he lands in 40K, he meets the Leagues of Votann, and he sees how different these dwarves are, and he's like, you look like dwarves, but you fight like manlings.
They do have the Chthonian berserkers.
Mm-hmm.
The Votann, who are like topless, but yeah.
But then again, they're more like miners, so that's the argument.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Gotrek could work. Where would Felix go? Oh, well, Felix would.
I think Felix would be like an Imperial Guard that would come across Gotrek, yeah. Or maybe some like, or someone from a noble house, and he, story stays the same. He gets kicked out by his father, and he ends up with Gotrek.
Yeah. Yeah, that could work. Yeah.
Oh, bro! Imagine Karl Franz in 40K.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Bretonian Imperial Knights.
The Green Knights. In 40K. That'd be funky.
The Green Knight in 4, or actually the Green Knight in AOS. And this is something I actually debated once. Actually, so it's the same Green Knight. He's technically still a Bretonian, but I guess he's also blessed by Alariel, the god, Earth goddess. She's basically an Earth goddess. So he's also the Knight of the Forest and the Knight of the Lake.
All right. Yeah.
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 And I think I would do like going more on the dark side. Like maybe you can see like him as a skeleton more.
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah. That's what I like to see.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think my choices are still Ionis and the Sanguinor. There are a lot of possibilities, but
there's so much you can do with his homebrew.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's why homebrew is so fun.
It is. It's great.
And here's actually a good question. Ask him why he won't answer my calls. I miss him.
I stumbled into a temporal rift and I've been stuck in the past where there are no phones.
And it's like, sorry, buddy, you have to get the message.
No, it's
If she doesn't text you back more than a few years, I think he should get the message by now.
here,
If the message says seen, if the message says seen, and it's been years, I think he got the message already, bro. But he's not going to message you back.
Here's a question in return for you, Diver. What calls? I
What?
haven't gotten any calls.
Shameful.
Yeah, absolutely.
How dare you?
But yeah, that's my answer.
And that's my answer too.
Yes. All right.
But you know, I'm going to ask you a question for you actually, because we never actually touched on your subject of your YouTube channel, right? But this is something I'm curious about. So, even though it looks like you've retired your channel or you haven't done videos in 2 years, not that I'm asking if you're going to do stuff, for the channel, but do you have any plans going forward? I guess, like, what you plan on doing for other stuff?
Well, on the YouTube channel specifically, I have been tempted to try to get back into it. My issue with it was that I had a period where I took a break, and I entirely lost my routine in that break, and I wasn't able to get back into the routine.
I can understand that. Like, I used to write before, and I finished a book actually, but it was such big burnout. And looking back on it, I don't think I would ever do anything with this book ever. But it's like, hey, I finished it, but I don't see myself wanting to write anything else going forward. But here's the thing, I finished it, I did it, but it's like, because I did it, I don't think I really need to do anything more.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to mute. I had to sneeze.
No problem. No problem.
But yeah, I have been tempted to return to my inner sanctum Voxcast, as I called it. It's
link in description below.
Yeah. One of my main things with it was that I wanted to be able to show people's work. I know it's a podcast, it's meant to just, but I did video as well, where at the end, me and whoever the guest was looked at 5 submissions that I'd taken from Twitter or Discord. And we went over and we said what we liked, the miniature. And we looked at these miniature submissions as a sort of, it was a miniature showcase, because I know that like Games Workshop do their own showcases, but I feel like a lot of the time it's the things getting showcased are at a standard that not everyone can reach, and I wanted to showcase just anyone's, no matter their time in the hobby or their skill or anything like that, show off the good work they're doing and their creative expressions. So that was one of the major reasons I made the Voxcast, and I've been really tempted to get back.
Yeah, of course, and I can definitely say, if you ever want me as like a potential guest on your show, I'd be more than interested.
Yeah, it's I appreciate it. That's one of the things as well, is having to find a guest each time was a bit rough. I had some lined up that got to work with that I not because it didn't work out or anything. It's I ended up break and then never getting back to it. But I'd still like to. So hopefully I'll manage to get myself into gear and to it. It would be a lot of fun.
No problem. No problem. And I think it'll be pretty cool or interesting if you were to do it.
Yeah, it's I did learn a lot doing it, just like trying to do thumbnails and all that. It was something I never really considered actually fun. I might need to try and get a bit of a better setup with how I do things. I mentioned it to you beforehand, where the system I was doing it was a bit like you were recording for both of us here, but I was having both me and my guest separately match them up perfectly and cutting and editing, and it was way more inefficient than it had.
Yeah, it was. I did that for my very first episode, and yeah, it is like stitching together Frankenstein.
Yeah, it was way more work than it should be. So I'll definitely look at if I do manage to get back to it and making it more, easier, more efficient.
Yeah, work smarter, not harder.
Exactly. So yeah, that's in terms of that. That's my main plan going forward. Otherwise, my plans going forward are just enjoy the hobby, I suppose.
Live free and die hard.
Yeah, just making my homebrews, writing the lore when I for it, painting when I have the inspiration and energy for that instead. I've gotten my brother into the hobby, trying to, when I'm able to get some minis for both of us, try to do some hobby sessions where I go down to a place or so and we build and watch something on Warhammer TV.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's a lot of fun, the hobby as a whole.
it is, and despite that, the storms that can happen here and there, it is a fun hobby. It's just brace yourself for some storms here and there.
Yeah, and it is possible to ignore them. It's just they do spread kind of wide, so it's a bit difficult to ignore them. It is possible.
And that's why the mute button is there.
Yes. So here's a question from me to you.
Oh, sure.
Since you have a Space Marine chapter, what is your favorite type of Space Marine dreadnought?
Oh, yeah, because I have a lot of dreadnoughts, actually. It'd actually be the Ballistus.
There is a right answer to the question.
Okay, mine would be the Ballistus.
Right answer was the Leviathan.
I don't have the Leviathan dreadnought, unfortunately, but I really like the Ballistus because it does remind me of like the very first dreadnought I've built, like from the very small kid.
Is it the more boxy arms with how the arms are like right next
the twin las guns, the rocket launchers?
Yeah. Personally, my favorite one is Leviathan. I love it, how chunky it is, and it's
the big boy.
I am currently painting one from. So I looked over it and thought of the question. I may as well.
No problem.
But I actually don't have a ballista. I'm doing this thing for my Midnight Justiciars. Since they are sort of Night Lordsy, there's a bit of suspicion on them. They haven't received Primaris reinforcements. So I'm trying to do a whole 1K army where all the models I use are what I run. So, for example, I've gotten a Mark tactical squad for Horus Heresy that I just run as intercessor, and I'm building this Leviathan to have the 2 siege claws to be a Brutalis dreadnought that has 2 claws in it. So that's sort of how I'm building it, and it's a lot of fun trying to find firstborn equivalents that work with the Primaris rules, because like the Mark III tactical squad, they have the same base size as intercessors. They're basically the same size. They have a bolter. It's not the same bolter. Hey, so that's kind of my current project. I did accidentally mess up with the Leviathan because my arm, the siege class, and I accidentally bought a Leviathan with ranged weapons instead of melee weapons. So I'm painting up the wrong one at the moment, but I'll get another one.
If you think that's bad, one time I put on a dreadnought's legs on backwards.
Oh, if you think that's bad, I put on a Space Marine's head backwards, and I haven't been able to fix it. So it's the Blood Angels Praetor in Tartarus Power Armor.
Oh man!
I'll send you the one so you can have an idea what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah,
Since
imagine.
since it's forge rolled resin, I use super glue.
Oh
And
no.
I had glued the top hood on before the head, and I figured I couldn't get the head in there without some. So eventually, I had to force the head in there. It accidentally spun around, got on. I think it's even upside down and stuck to the super glue. I've tried to get it loose. I can't. Standing there, useless. The head is on wrong.
Yeah, that's like with the Gravis Space Marine Captain, right? I tried forcing the head into the hood, but it's like it just wouldn't fit, or at least the helmeted version.
It's. I was looking at it and I was just certain, like, no, this will fit, but nope.
Yeah.
It did not. So that's a bit of a shame on my end. My greatest shame.
At least it's not in the pile of shame, but who knows?
It isn't. No, it's just stood in a drawer of mine, collecting dust, unpainted, untouched.
Untouched, unremembered.
Yes, forever forgotten, except for now.
Lest we forget, but we've already forgotten.
So, returning a bit to your Thunder Angels, if we have time, what's the chapter master of the Thunder Angels like?
So I don't exactly have a Oh, actually, yes, I do. His name is what's his? I'm trying to remember. Methuselah.
Methuselah. All right.
Yeah, Moses' grandfather in the Bible, right? That's his name, and he's very old.
Okay.
Yeah, he's the Terminator captain that you get from the Leviathan box, the one where he's like standing on top a slain Tyranid.
Oh yeah.
The Carnifex, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
It's like if you're going to do a Terminator Space Marine captain, have it be that.
Yeah. Yeah, I have one of those. I kind of want to get another for my Midnight Justiciars army.
Yeah, even the founding Space Marine chapter master for the Thunder Angels, they were twins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so technically they had two Space Marines playing the role of chapter master. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. Were they actually birth twins as well?
Like birth twins, yeah.
Nice. That's really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But with that, actually, I think we've reached the end of the show. Is there anything though you want to say before we call an end?
Think before you paint white. Difficult.
Yeah, and if you're going to paint white, use Celestial Gray first as a base paint for the white, then paint over the white paint over it because it's going to turn out so much better.
Real quick before we wrap up, the first mini I painted white, I was dumb. I spray primed with Chaos Black.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to do layer after layer of white, trying to not have the black show through. And it was a sanguinary.
Oh man!
But I got there in the end.
But you can still technically do white over black. You just have to put on gray paint first, then put on the white.
Yeah. Since I got Gray Seer in my arsenal of paints, it's been great.
Mm-hmm. And if you want the most purest white paint, then get Bull Titanium White from Pearl Asil. Or Pearl Aquil. That's the most white paint you can get.
I have to try that out. But yeah, that's my advice for the masses. Think before you paint white.
That's actually very good. That's a very good way of saying it.
Yeah.
And with that, thank you all for watching. And I'll see you all again next time with a brand new video. Till then, I'll see you around.